We're back. It's been a while.
Feels like a minute.
I don't know, when was the last time we did?
This time no. Early last week.
Yeah, it was...
We
No, it would have been...
recapped week. We were doing
Previewed the Wildcard. That was our bracket
doing our
segment.
brackets and stuff. Yeah. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Bits happened.
Bits happened. Not too much, though.
Yeah.
It hasn't been out of the world.
I was talking more personally rather than sports.
I'm catching on now.
But we don't have to talk about personal stuff on the pod.
So in the world of sport, yeah, not much is happening. But in the the personal world, plenty happening. New family member.
Yeah.
So I'm now outnumbered 3-1, girls to males. No, it's been good so far.
Yeah.
It's been a good couple of weeks. The weather's been good, nice and cool. Plenty of sport on during the day and stuff. So
Yeah.
plenty to do. It's it's been nice. It's been a good time.
Yeah. It's been a great time to be a sports fan.
It has.
Plenty going on.
Yeah, out here. I mean, we've got the Aussie Open, the Big Bash. Obviously, the NFL right now, this is the best time in the entire year for NFL. Wildcard and Divisional Round, I think, is the prime. Obviously, Conference Final and Super Bowl is like the big games. But these is when you get sort of more bang for your buck. You get, the 6 games last week, the 4 games this week. Whereas when you go next week, you get the 2, and then obviously the 1. And starts, But Divisional Round, I think, is always my favourite week.
Yeah, and like the top 4 out of each conference going head to head.
And I think for a lot of teams, just making the conference final is not like that's the goal, but I feel like that's the base. Like once you make the conference final, you're like, wow, okay, this is it. Like a new competition type thing. So I think for nearly all the teams, like the big guns who lose this week, will feel like the season is a bit of a disappointment. Whereas I think even if the Ravens or the Bills lose next week, it'll still feel bad, but it'll be a different feeling to losing this week. Like that one extra week, I feel, is a massive extra step. Obviously, they all want to win that Super Bowl and go the whole way, but so I mean, we'll get into the big one later on, Ravens Bills. But do you want to start with just a quick tennis?
Quick tennis?
Yeah, quick tennis.
Away.
Have a quick chat about shoot the shit about the tennis.
Can do. I mean, it's been a pretty eventful. There's been a few big hitters that have been knocked out. Medvedev got knocked out the other day.
Yeah,
Rublev got knocked out.
And then the guy that knocked Rublev out got beat in the next round.
Yeah.
It's amazing that happens, isn't it? Where the young guy comes in, plays his best match against like a top 10, and then the next match just goes out to an unseeded.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Like, how does that work in tennis? Like, it's
so crazy.
It's so hot and cold, right?
Yeah.
Where you play your best match, and then it's just, I don't know if it's mental or what it is, but
it's so taxing, those sort of tournaments, though. Like, you're playing every second day, right?
Yeah, but only your second round. Like, this guy's 18, you'd think by...
Yeah, but I feel like it's just so much strain on a body, like, just going in and out. Like, especially if, like, say you're, like, very off on, like, your first round, you're going to, like, 5 sets, like, where you should be winning, like, straight out. So you're just putting more pressure on your body, and then you have to turn that around so quickly.
I lean more towards the mental part of it, where you get a win against this guy that no one expected you to win, against a top 10 guy, someone who's been to the quarterfinals, and then all of a sudden you got all this hype about you, everyone to talk to you, and then you got to sit in your hotel room, you got all this fanfare, and then you got to get up and do it the next time.
Yeah.
And when you're young, I think you just sort of, not that you expect it to just happen again, but you don't realize how the mindset is you've got to stay balanced, you've got to stay calm. And it's very difficult when there's so much going on around you. Because people are talking about this Finesca guy as the next big thing. He hit the fastest forehand winner of the whole comp, bigger than Alcaraz. So you start to get that attention. And as we mix in some cricket here, when you talk about constants, the same sort of thing. You get that attention, and then it can change the way you go about it, and then you don't play as well as you do in the next round. I mean, it could be reading too much into it. Maybe the guy he came up against in the second round was just, again, on a tear. But yeah, that was just something for me, because I watched that Rublev game, and I like Rublev. I know a lot of people get turned off by his smashing the racket and his antics, but I quite like the guy, so I was a bit disappointed when he lost. Another big guy that got knocked out was Medvedev.
Yeah, Medvedev.
I was on Sportsbet looking at the odds. I was like, oh, wow, Medvedev, that's great value. Like $15 to win it all. Sweet, I put $5 on that. Next morning, he's out. That was the quickest $5. Sorry, Medvedev. I put the absolute...
You mocked him.
Oh.
Put the mocker on him. I mean, yeah, he's... he gets such a bad rap with, like, just how he...
Oh, but do you see what he did in that game?
Are you talking about the game when he was smashing the camera, or the game that he got knocked out in?
Yeah, the one where he got knocked out, where he pretended to hit the ball with the ball boy, but like purposely air swung.
No, I didn't see that.
Like made the ball boy like.
Oh my goodness!
Like I know. He does that a few times. That guy, like,
he's just that kind of character. It just rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, but I don't even think that's a rub. I think that's like he gets in the moment and he just has no ability to filter what's too far and what's not. Like
Can't control his emotions or anything
the
like
line gets so blurred.
Yeah.
Like I understand getting angry or getting frustrated or talking to the ref or hyping the crowd up, but he doesn't seem to understand in the moment when once he gets heated and hot, the line when it comes to outside people like ball boys, kids in the stands, whatever it is, you've got to be able to rein it in and keep it just on the tennis. And he's done it a few times, and he is becoming a very unpopular guy in
I love to know how much money he's lost through, like, you know, fees and stuff, through penalties. And
speaking of money, I was looking at Alcaraz. That guy's won like 35 million in prize money, and he's 21. I mean, tell you what, tennis is the sport to play.
Yeah.
Tennis and golf. I mean, if you can get good at that, you're set. I mean, 21 years old. I mean, obviously Alcaraz, he's been number one in the world, won majors, so it's not as if he's just a regular tennis player, but still. But if he keeps this going, by the time he's 35, he could be earning like $400 million in prize money with the way that things are going. So, I mean, he's looking good.
He's my pick to win it.
You got Alcaraz?
I picked that from the start.
I think he's like $4. You still got Sinner at like $2, heavy favourite.
Yeah, you still got Sinner in. You got Djokovic still in. Djokovic is always a good person in the back with his sort of stature and record behind him.
Well, the Australian Open, that's his thing, right? That's his main major.
Yeah, he's been pretty much dominating it the past couple of years. I mean, Australians have been getting knocked out left, right, and centre.
Just need Diminor. That's our only hope.
Diminor our only hope. But I think he comes up against Sinner if
he's on his side of the bracket. Yeah.
Yeah, if he wins today, is he playing today?
Yeah, he'll be today.
Yeah, he plays today. I think at like 2:00 or something. So if he wins that,
and this is what the
Sinner
third round
wins the other one. This is the fourth round, so this will be quarterfinals.
I feel like he always wins the fourth round and he gets knocked out in the quarters. Like he seems like
I think quarters is as far as he's gotten.
That's like his hard ceiling.
Yeah.
Like he gets to the quarters and that's like just it. He can't seem to push past it.
So I mean, if he gets past Sinner,
well, he'll feel. I mean, he's feeling good. I've heard him speak that his body's feeling good. Like his energy levels are good. He's feeling the best he has in a few years. So that's a plus side. I mean, he's got to come against a tournament favourite, last year's winner, which is tough. But as you said, if he wins that, then he gets that momentum and the confidence to think he can go all the way. But it's just it's a shame that in Australia we don't have any more like higher up people challenging for these titles.
Nah, I mean, Curiosity's been on and off with injury. Kokonakis, he looked pretty good, but then he came out with injury.
He's got to the third round.
Did Vukic win yesterday?
Yeah, but again, we're talking about meddling. Like none of these guys you think, they can win it.
Yeah,
it's crazy though. I feel like Australia, nearly most sports, you got to think of F1. We have Piastri, we've had Ricciardo, Webber. Golf, we have Cam Smith. Even like these sports that are a bit out there, but peculiar, like the non-team sports, we typically are pretty good in these. Like at least have one or two athletes. And in tennis, you think we've been hosting the Australian Open for a long time.
One of the four majors. So
we'd be having plenty of investment, plenty of like tennis in Australia, plenty of grassroots tennis. We've had Leighton Hewitt and such, which typically when you have those generational players, they bring up the next generation. It just seems as though the next generation that's coming after just have had that ceiling of like fourth round quarterfinals. And I don't know, it's
no one's been able to sort of
obviously
break
we have Ash Barty in the women's, who's been now.
Oh yeah, she was probably the standout. And then before that was
Stosur. Oh, she was tough to watch. Yeah. She was a serial choker, Dan Stosur. Whenever you thought she'd about to win, she'd do a double fault or do an unforced error. But no, Ash Barty in the women's is definitely our best. But I'm just talking about more the men's comp. We just haven't had anyone really for a long time been able to challenge for the top.
I mean, it's been dominated by the Nadals, Federers, and
the Europeans.
Europeans
have had the tennis just number for a long time now.
Yeah,
Switzerland, Spain, Serbia, even like the Medvedev and Eastern Europeans. They're good. Like it's just for some reason, just all around Europe, they're just very good at tennis. Credit to them. But yeah, so you got Alcaraz.
Yeah, I went Alcaraz.
I don't even know who I've got, to be honest. I said I don't think Sinner's going to win again. I just think he's $2. I think that's way too short. I wouldn't put my money on him.
I mean, if you're betting, you probably wouldn't go Sinner.
No, so the thing with Alcaraz is I remember last year he lost in the quarterfinal to someone we haven't spoken about, Zverev, the German guy, who Alcaraz was a huge favourite, and he just came out so flat. Like he couldn't hit a shot. He was playing timid. Every time he would like go for a big swing, he would hit the net or hit it too long. And Zverev beat him in like 4 sets, I think it was. But I remember watching that game. I was in Melbourne after. I was like the day before we were coming home from the Australian Open. And I was watching that match going, wow, what is happening to Alcaraz? He looked like brilliant the entire way through. I watched Alcaraz in person last year. And then he hits that quarterfinal and just looked so flat. Obviously, he's won the US Open, he's won the Wimbledon. But for some reason, the Aussie Open, he just hasn't been able to push through and make that final step. Yeah, maybe this is the year for him.
Is this the only one he hasn't won? because I think he's won French.
Has he won French?
I think he's
Well,
won
then this
French.
is the only one he hasn't won
Yeah.
yet. I don't even think he has. I don't think he's made final.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, this is his bogey one. I think at the moment my money I'm leaning on the old vet, the wily old fox in Djokovic.
Yeah.
The Aussie
I mean,
Open
you
just
can't,
is.
can't go wrong with him.
Yeah, the last few years he's been in a similar form where he's not looking dominant early on, but he picks it up in the semis, like quarters,
Yeah.
and then loses the final. I think he lost the final last year to Sinner, didn't he? That was the final he lost.
Did he make the final? I can't
Either
remember.
way, he lost in semi
Yeah.
or the final.
He's got Andy Murray in his corner now.
Yeah, does he?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, Andy Murray's coaching him. So,
That's
because
crazy.
it's a bit different this year, because I've noticed they've got the coaching boxes like a little bit closer. And
Aren't they like on the basically
on it, yeah,
on
like
the-
in the corners.
Yeah.
So,
It's weird. I wonder why they did that.
I don't know. I feel like.
But
maybe
they
it's
still have
just,
some people in the boxes. But it's like
Yeah,
their
yeah.
main coaches, like
The
their
main coaches
like
get on
actual
the-
coach
on
are
the ground.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wonder.
families
I
always just
wonder if
stay
that's
in
an
the-
Aussie Open thing only, or if that's been done.
I don't
at the
know.
US Open.
I haven't heard anything. Yeah, I just noticed
Yeah,
it.
I noticed
obviously,
that
once
too.
the
I thought that was a little
tournament
strange.
started.
I thought that was a little strange, but I mean, there must be a reason for it.
Yeah.
You are allowed to coach now, right? Like you're allowed to. Remember
Yeah,
previously
they
you weren't
talk
allowed
each
to.
other. Yeah.
Previously you weren't allowed to get any advice from your
Yeah.
corner. Now I think that's fine. So maybe
Yeah.
that's why. So you can
So it must
separate
be
the coach
allowed
and the
now.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, should be a good watch. I mean, we're going into week 2 now, going to the 4th round, getting to the pointy end of the tournament.
Getting down to it. That's where all the good
It's been
matchups
good, and I
come.
think Sabalenka in the women's is probably
Yeah.
the favourite. Swiatek.
Coco's looking all right there.
Coco's, yeah, the Swiatek, the pole, the second seed's looking good as well. So
Yeah.
a lot of the top seeds in the women's are still there.
Yeah.
Usually, a
Osaka bowed out with
Yeah, she
injury
retired.
last night. Yeah.
lot of the top seeds, like typically the women's game, your top seeds can falter. I feel like it's easier, maybe because it's only 3 sets. The top seeds can typically get knocked out early in surprises more than the men's.
Yeah,
do.
you just need to win those 2 sets. Eh?
Yeah. So it's been interesting to see that now this year the women's have had all their top seeds sort of stay strong. So that should come down to a few good matches at the end too. Sabalenka's looking dominant. She had a good, like a 2-hour long 2-set match yesterday, which was hard fought, which is probably a good thing. You know, get some miles in the legs, but she's been there and done it. So, yeah, should be good.
Yeah. No, it's looking good. Looking very good.
And yeah, so it's basically it. Now we can move to the main event.
The main event. I mean, divisional round, as we said, probably the most exciting week. But all right, we'll recap a little bit of wildcard.
Yeah, we'll go through the wildcard
Yeah.
games. I mean, we can just sort of go through them all and just sort of give our 2 cents.
Yeah.
Feels like a week ago.
Saturday games were the. Who was it? We had Ravens Steelers.
Yeah, LA, the Clippers, Houston was the first.
Clippers Houston.
Yep,
Yeah, so this one, you're on Houston this one.
I was.
Yeah, I was on the Chargers, and this game was just like very frustrating if you're on the
Chargers,
side
yeah.
of the Chargers. Like they should have really put some points on the board early. They didn't. They were only up 6 towards halftime, and basically after that, Stroud finally picked up some game in the second half. And like Herbert, he probably just had his worst game of his career. It seems like terrible picks. Some I could argue were the receiver's fault. There was probably 2 that were receiver's faults, but you know I think he had, how many did he have that whole game?
4.
Four. Yeah, so the other 2 were on him definitely. But yeah, like Texans defense, Will Anderson, he was just getting after him, putting pressure on. Like that's been the one shining light for Houston this year. They've had no confidence in at least in offensively. Like Stroud's kind of regressed this year from his rookie season, but they find themselves back to back in divisional round.
Yeah.
In the playoffs. So Stroud's 2 from 2 going into divisional. So you can't really fault him on
Herbert's
that.
still not won a playoff game in all his
Herbert's
years.
still not won. Oh, he's won one, hasn't he? No? Hasn't won a single one.
He lost that game against the Jags where he was up like 20-something at half and
right.
then drew the intercepts. So, no, it was a bad performance from Herbert. As you said, that second half, at the end of the second half, the Chargers were up 6-0 and then Herbert interception into a Texans touchdown, into a Chargers punt, into a Texans field goal. So you go from 6-0 into the last few minutes into a 10-6. And then from then on, the Chargers, they just barely score. Couldn't get any offense going. I said, Herbert, it's looking like he's just not one of those big game performers.
Nah, like after this game, Chargers are going to be like, we need to try and get him some more help on the receiver end. We need to try and boost our offensive line, but like you can't look at that game and go, Herbert just did not have it.
No, well,
so
he's
you
done
can
it.
try and get him all the weapons he has, but is he going to be able to perform when you do have?
And he's played like that when he had weapons, like when he had Keenan Allen, when he had these guys that they traded away. I said in that Jacksonville game, he's shown that he is prone to making a lot of errors in the big spots.
Yeah.
And now you have a bit more of a sample size, and you're right, he doesn't have the best weapons, but his offensive line is pretty good, but he doesn't have the best wide receivers. And you said they were making drops, they were not helping him in the interception case. But ultimately, he's been touted as one of the sort of tier under those top guys, the Lamar, Burrow, Mahomes, Allen. And at the moment, I feel like a QB in that level who's getting paid like he is, who gets talked about like one of the next big things, should be able to be a force multiplier, like make the team better, rather than be a guy that sort of needs the people around him, needs the help.
Yeah.
Right? He's sort of like a more in the Dak Prescott or under category, where he gets talked about as if he's, pushing to that next step. So I think, to be fair, the criticism's starting to pile on him now. Like, I don't think he's going to get much good grace moving forward.
And it's not unfair criticism. Like,
No, not at all.
yeah.
So, and then, for the Texans side, as you said, 2 back-to-back divisional rounds for CJ and for the D'Amico Ryans, who's excellent head coach. Ironic they versed the Chiefs again in the second round.
Yeah, they beat a struggling Chargers and booked themselves basically a one-way ticket to Arrowhead against the number 1 seed Chiefs.
We'll get into that game a bit later, but it's
going for their 3rd Super Bowl in a row.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup for sure. But look, at the end of the day, I think most Texans fans would have taken a divisional round. It's difficult with the matchup, but with CJ not even having his best year, the sophomore slump, to still make a divisional round. I mean, it helps that their division is probably definitely the worst in the AFC, and one of the worst in the entire league. Gives them a big advantage. But at the end of the day, you still got to win your games. And the Chargers had been a tough team to get rid of all year. They coach well, good defense, and yes, they got a bit of luck, but I think they deserve the win. And that was 1 from 1 for me. And your bracket was blown up
straight away from the first game.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes, to be honest.
Yeah, so that's how usually the cookie crumbles.
A lot of people like the Chargers in this one. I didn't understand it. I thought the Texans +2 was great money. Even if you thought the Chargers would win, I thought it would be a close game. But
yeah, but you couldn't put faith in that offense. Like, it hadn't, like, there's been all this talk about being disrespected and stuff, but they haven't shown anything on offense. Like, I think it was pretty much valid. Like, they still didn't really they showed nothing in that first half. Like, that was just usually how their season went, and then the second half is where they finally got something going. So
those last few drives in that second half gave a bit of confidence.
Yeah.
I just think the playoffs are defense heavy, and it's can your offense take the chances that's given to them.
For sure.
And I just think in that game, Herbert and the Chargers took no chances, gave the chances to the Texans, and they were good enough to take them. So credit to them, and
for sure,
that might be their ceiling.
No, congratulations, Texans.
And then you had obviously the big one for our Sunday. This America Saturday was the Pittsburgh-Baltimore divisional round game.
Yeah,
I mean, this game was over by halftime.
Yeah, I mean, people that were on the
21-0.
Mike Tomlin dog line, that's usually been pretty kind to them over the past couple of matchups, especially with the Ravens. It was basically just trying to see if the Steelers could finally get something going, and I think did they even score in the first half? Or did
No,
they
it's 21-0.
Yeah, so they finally got Pickens going, like doing those
Oh,
move balls.
that was the only offense they got.
That was the only offense that they had. So, it comes down to really Steelers moving forward. They're sort of talking about whether Tomlin's the right person to continue.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, Tomlin's a good coach, but Steelers
Haven't won a playoff game since
they haven't
2014 or something.
Yeah, so obviously that record's there, but I feel like they just need some help in the quarterback position.
But that's the criticism on Tomlin, is that he's a defensive guy. He focuses on the defense, the culture, and he doesn't know sort of what to do on the offense. And as a result, that's why the Steelers, since Big Ben has left, has just had such a meddling offense.
Yeah.
And in the league nowadays, your offense, it's an offensive league with all the rules. And the criticism of Tomlin is that, and rightfully so, I think, is that he's a defensive culture guy who doesn't understand too much of the offense or passes it off to the offensive guys on the team. And they're paying the price for that. Like, their defense is always pretty good. I mean, it wasn't good in that game.
Yeah.
But their offense just was just abysmal. As you said, apart from the Pickens deep ball, they had nothing. Wilson didn't look too good. The offensive line wasn't good. They couldn't run. I mean, the Steelers, I think, Najee, I can't remember their run yards, like 40 or 50 yards for the game, whereas the Ravens had 300 yards.
Yeah.
Like when you think of the Pittsburgh Steelers, you think of a gritty team running, like sort of get on the offensive line battle, get down and dirty. They got absolutely mauled by the Ravens. I think the Ravens had like a 15
or
runs in a row drive. Like, that's just bullying Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And that's usually what Pittsburgh wants to do to other teams. So I just think they're a bit lost. Obviously, he's never had a losing season, which is his shine, like sort of his good, like what saves him in these conversations. Like, well, look, if you keep Tomlin, at least you're going to be still making playoffs. You're still going to be in the hunt.
Yeah.
But then the counter to that is, well, what's a goal at Pittsburgh? Is it to lose in the first round of the playoffs like they keep doing? Or is it to try to win a Super Bowl? At the moment, it seems like Tomlin just he's not going to be able to push them past that first or second round to be able to be an actual challenger.
I don't even think the current QB that they've got can really push them past that either.
That's the thing, they don't prioritize it.
No.
They were talking about how good it was that they have such a cheap QB room. It's like, okay, yeah, but you're paying, like there's a reason that it's cheap.
Yeah.
It's because they're not high-level quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And in the end of the day, it's a quarterback league. On offense, it really comes down to, can your quarterback make plays? Like you can scheme up stuff, you can have the Shanahan Niners offense, which is a lot of runs and a lot of schemes. But at the end of the day, you still need your quarterbacks to make plays and to limit mistakes.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, it's nearly going to be impossible, especially just to win one playoff game, let alone win 4 to make the Super Bowl. So I think it's time to go. I don't think they will. I think it's too big of a risk. You make the playoffs, but the problem is you win enough games where you're never going to get a high QB pick. You're always going to be one of the mid-draft picks.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? You're going to trade up and sacrifice your whole future to get a rookie QB? Do you spend all the money?
Tough year to do it as well, because I feel like there's so many candidates out there, but there's so many teams looking for new head coaches. So there's going to be plenty of competition. So like trying to get the right guy, and also whether if the right guy wants to come to you, it's going to be a challenge. So
yeah, for me, this seems as more of a media story. Like the media just likes talking about it because it is and to be fair, it is a valid conversation.
I feel like it's Pittsburgh fans that are really talking up that sort of story as well. Like they're just wanting change and something like that.
I don't reckon the management is actually really discussing it.
I don't think
it's a big. I think for them it's considered not a success, but okay, it's good enough, and they'll keep going.
Like I don't know what their offensive coordinator's like, but can't you sort of maybe try and upgrade your offensive coordinator, try and find someone better, and then I mean you just need to try and do something with that quarterback room because you got Fields where he kind of looked decent. When you started him when Russ sort of had that injury at the start of the season and then Tomlin gave the starting job to Russ. But like for Russ, he only had that moonball to Pickens that really had their offensive guns really going. And I don't think Russ is the kind of guy. I don't see him taking any next steps in the next couple of years. He's just getting to that age and he's towards the end. So I would try and get rid of him. Whether Fields is the right person, I don't know. Maybe they just need to try and find someone new.
I think they need to. I think Tomlin's at the risk of being like Belichick, where everything's just very static. Like he's not willing to give up control. Like I think he needs to give up complete control of the offense and just say, hey, bring someone in who's willing to completely scheme it up, have control of offensive personnel.
So does he make the plays on offense, Tomlin?
He doesn't make the plays, but I don't know how it works in the inner workings, but I don't think that the person on offense has the power in the organization to make personnel changes and to like make large scale changes. Like for example, if you're Bill Belichick and you're the defensive guy on the Patriots, your offensive person is not deciding who the quarterback is and deciding who your wide receivers and what trades you're making. Belichick still had all the power over the personnel. I don't know if Tomlin has that much power, but I'm sure he's been there that long that he would have a large say. And I don't think he's in tune enough with how the offensive changing in the league. And he needs to get someone in who's willing to trust to just take care of all of it. We need this guy. We need to get rid of this guy. We need this guy. We need this QB.
Where currently the offensive coordinator is probably getting a list of his players and being like, okay, this is what I have to.
He's working within the Tomlin system, whereas he needs to be like doing his complete own thing. So I mean, they still made the playoffs. They're a massive franchise, the Steelers. But at the end of the day, this is many years of a row of just looking outclassed. Like at the end of the day, Baltimore and Steelers, they play each other many times. They're fierce rivals. The Steelers typically have had the wood over them, but you're seeing in these last 2 games that the Ravens are just separating. Like having Lamar Jackson is just making that gulf wider and wider. And typically Lamar plays poor against the Steelers, which sort of saves them. But if Lamar starts playing like he did that game, like well against the Steelers, that gulf is going to get wider because the difference in QB is so stark. It's unbelievable. Like Lamar is top 3 QB in the league. maybe top 4 if you want to add Burrow in, but undeniable. And the gap between the top 4 and the rest is Mount Everest. So
you can't take that foot off the gas in their division as well. Like their division is just so heavy.
you have 2 of the top 4 quarterbacks in that division. You have the Browns, who have a great coach, who obviously have an awful situation in QB. But if they fix that up and get a good rookie QB, they'll be meddling. They've got a good defense, great coach. So that all they need is a good QB. Obviously, they're going to be difficult because their salary cap's going to be in all sorts of mess. But they'll just have to get lucky on a QB. But yeah, they're in a bad spot in that division, and I think they got a bit inflated this year, winning those early games, those close games in the season. But as you sort of commented on a bit earlier, the Tomlin as a dog, even in the last 4 or 5 games, it didn't work. Like he's been getting smashed as a dog. So even that started to lose him. And a lot of people, I think a lot of the public started jumping on that Tomlin as a dog train, and they got burnt badly these last few weeks. I know a few pros and stuff that I listened to that loved the Steelers plus. They thought it's way too many points. And I feel like last year, or early in the year, I would have been on them. But this year, I hammered the Ravens minus.
We both jumped on the Ravens
minus 9. I was like, yes, please.
Yeah.
I just thought they're just a way better team. I love betting on a team like the Bills or the Ravens who know their big game is a couple of weeks from now, but it's still the playoffs. Because typically you can overlook a team.
Yeah.
But I feel like they know that they're going to come out with so much confidence, so much belief that they can do this, that they're ready to hit that next stage, that they're destined for better things. So the Bills and the Ravens, I love those 2 bets and paid off.
Yeah, basically set up this awesome divisional matchup.
Should we segue into later? Denver, Buffalo? I didn't watch this one, so
that was the next one on Sunday anyway, right? Yeah,
that was the first game on our Monday.
Yeah, I didn't watch this one. This was 5 a.m. our time, so I was sound asleep, especially on holidays. But watching the highlights, Denver scored on that first possession, and
that was it.
That was really it. Yeah, it was all Buffalo after that. I think it was 38 unanswered points straight after that. 31. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, for Broncos to do anything here, they had to find their offense, and they found it early and then lost it. So the better team won. We both jumped on minus, was it 9.5 for Bills?
I think it was 8.5.
8.5? Yeah, so we both jumped on that. I'm pretty happy backing Allen in that sort of spot. I just didn't think the Broncos had that power offensively. Going back to that Bengals game where we got absolutely burned, that just sort of put the nail in the coffin for me. I just thought they sort of just need a little bit more time, a bit more preparation to sort of get that going, especially the sort of Bo Nix and Peyton connection that they've got. They've got Cortland Sutton. He performed really well for them in a receiving core, but I think they just need to find a little bit more juice in that offense. Defense is looking insane, so next year I feel like they could be a sneaky team to watch.
I think for the Broncos, it's a win. You're never going to go into Buffalo, rookie QB's first playoff game, into Buffalo against a team that's going to go on for bigger and better things. I think for them, take this season as a win.
Obviously, when you're there, you want to win.
Of course, but just the grand scheme of things, just sort of wipe this one away. As you said, they've got plenty of. It's only Sean Payton's second year, but his first year with a QB that he really liked.
Yeah,
Bo Nix has had an excellent season. The defense has been, got to remember last year they got 70 put on them by Miami, who's not even in the playoffs this year, and now they're in the playoffs, right? So how that's changed, the defense has looked good. So for the Denver, I think they're moving on to bigger and better things, and I think they'll just keep improving year on year, and that division is going to become, the Raiders are going to get left behind, because with Harbaugh and Peyton in charge of the Chargers and Broncos, with obviously the Chiefs in there, that's 3 teams you think that are going to be challenging for playoffs every year, so that's a good division. And then for the Bills, they just ran, their percentage of run plays is quite staggering. They run a lot. A lot of people think of the Bills as a Josh Allen heavy team, but James Cook's getting a lot of yards, a lot of carries, which
putting a lot of faith in him, and he's sort of helping them.
Yeah, so that's how they're going to. That was all this criticism of the Bills a year or two ago, that Allen's having to throw 40 or 50 times to win a game. It's just not sustainable. Whereas now they're supplementing him with the run. Allen can run when he wants to, get nice play action. I think Allen, what was it here? 20 of 26 passing, 2 TDs. Just efficient. And then 120 yards for James Cook, and then 46 for Allen. That's a perfect blueprint to win that game. In Buffalo, it's cold. That's the way to do it. And we'll get into that with the preview of the Ravens, but that's going to put them in good stead. I think a lot of people think the Ravens are the run-heavy team, but I think the Bills actually have a more heavier run percentage than the Ravens do.
Really?
It's neck and neck. I think they're both top 4 or top 5.
I wouldn't even think that.
Exactly. So that's why it's sort of, a lot of people I think are going to have, we'll get into it, but I have a few good bets on this game where I think a lot of people are expecting a certain thing, but...
Have you switched to, I think we'll talk about it later, but...
All right,
you're giving me vibes. You're giving me vibes over there.
I'm not betting against Josh Allen. Next one, Philly at Green Bay. Again, this one.
Philly at Green Bay.
Or Green Bay at Philly, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Geez. I mean, Saquon showed up, thankfully, for them. These Eagles, man, their passing game, they're really good. But there's so much talk that comes out of their camp and everything, and all this drama that comes on, and it just rubs me the wrong way. But yeah, they're an insane team defensively. Offensive line's probably the best in the league as well. But there's just all these stories that come out, and obviously on that like AJ Brown reading the book, so they like all this talk. So you got AJ, like he doesn't he doesn't get enough targets from Hurts and stuff like that. Hurts has been copying some stuff from the media, with his production levels. They've just been relying heavily on Saquon, and he's sort of been, getting them most of the yards and offensive power plays through them. And Green Bay, they just didn't look like they really deserved to even be in the playoffs. Then they just, Jordan Love, he just struggled, and I think they were missing. Who were they missing? Kraft. Who was the tight end that Green Bay was missing? But yeah, they were missing some firepower, and they just couldn't keep up, to be honest.
Yeah,
So,
Jordan Love, I think, is playing a little injured. He didn't look himself. He had a pretty poor year overall.
Did he injure his groin the week before or something?
I know he was coming in with injury concerns. He threw 3 picks, a couple of those picks with him chasing the game at the end. But early on, they just didn't look... I thought... one of my bets on this game, I was heavy on the Eagles, but one of my bets to sort of hedge a little was Packers to win the first quarter or the first half, and the Eagles to win outright, because typically the Packers start off well. Like Matt LaFleur is really good at scheming things early, and then typically the Eagles have a poor first quarter, have a really good second half, and they start to build up the run game. But it was opposite. Eagles up 10-0 at the quarter, won the first half pretty comfortably, and then just run it out for the rest. But yeah, I was just surprised at how little juice the Packers had offensively early on. As you said, they just didn't look like they did last year. This time last year just going into Dallas and
they had that win.
The cans out of the Dallas Cowboys. So very different this year. It was a weird season for them. They started off with the loss with Love, and then Malik Willis comes in and wins 3 games. Love comes back in, loses, and Love was just injured and not injured the whole season. You know what I mean? It was kind of
never could have really got going, and just had some terrible picks like red zone territory and just giving up points that way. They were bad picks that he was giving up, and he was saying shooters are going to shoot, basically. He was going to make that throw. He's got that sort of confidence behind himself, but just couldn't really get going this year. And yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely not going to leave them out next year. They're going to come back. They're still a pretty decent team. So
yeah, I'm just kind of a little more just melancholy on them. I'm kind of just I've never been too high on them this year.
Just meh.
A lot of people were very high on them. I was kind of what they did last year at the end of the year, that more struck me as a team that got real hot. A young team that got a lot of belief and got on a run, rather than a team that was taking that next step. So a lot of people picking this year for the Packers to miss the conference championship, to even make the Super Bowl. And I just didn't see it. Now, this year, they had moments where they looked really, really good. But at the end of the day, they're in a very tough division. They have a lot of weaknesses in different areas. And they're good on both ends of the ball. They're good offensively, they're good defensively.
But not great.
Not great, and both of them have the ability, both sides of the ball have the ability to drop down in certain moments. They don't really complement each other too well. So for me next year, I'll be interested to see what their total is, their win total is to start the year. Because I think it's a team that people just want to believe in. But I don't know, I'm still just going to be a little hesitant on them. And then on Green Bay, on Philly, we can just sort of talk more about them when...
we'll touch on them when we talk about
that was a typical sort of game for Philly. And as you said, the biggest questions of them are what their vibes are. They're on this massive win streak. They're having a great season, and yet it feels like...
It's still all this weird commentary.
So strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then we, Washington, Tampa. This was a heartbreaker for me, because I was on Tampa, and this was the only game basically all week that I lost. Yeah. If Tampa won this, I think I was going to make $600.
Yeah.
So, heartbreaker. The Baker fumble for me was, the turning point. Yeah. The Tampa got that massive stop. The Commanders had that first and goal from the 2-yard line. I think it was a pass interference in the end goal. The first down on the 1-yard line and couldn't get it in. They went for the 4th down, didn't get it, got the turnover. Bucks get it. I think they're already up 6 at this point or something like that, around maybe 4 or 6 at this point. They got out of the 1-yard line. They're starting to march down the field. You're thinking, all right, if they get a touchdown or get a field goal or start to take some time off this clock, they're going to win this. Next thing you know, on their own 30-yard line, Baker just for some reason, one of those freak plays where he like sort of trips and the ball hit the running back, and it was supposed to be one of those ones where you fake to one running back and go to the guy sweeping around the back.
Yeah.
And he drops it. Commanders get the ball, score the touchdown, and you could just tell that I think the Baker was just upset. The defense was like, oh man, we just got this stop on the 1 yard line. Now we have to go again in that field position. And then, you got to give credit. I mean, for me, this game was Jaden Daniels just... I'll say, wow. I haven't watched too much Jaden Daniels this year, but when I watched him this game, the amount of third down completions, the amount of fourth down completions, the amount of times where, as a Bucks fan in this game, I was thinking, okay, get a stop here. And he just kept finding the open man. Completely different to Sam Darnold, like when you watch later on, who just, every time he was under pressure, he just held the ball and couldn't find it. Daniels was releasing it every time he needed to, getting it to the right guy, getting the running when he needs to. It was just a very clutch game. I mean, Baker played well, apart from the fumble, but at the end of the day, they just controlled time and possession. That was just the perfect... I said they kept getting to third down territory and they'd make the play and just keep the drive going, the drive going. The Baker and the Bucks barely didn't even have that many offensive plays to really make a run at it. Because at the end of the day, when they did have the ball, the Bucks offense was looking good. Mike Evans was getting free. They were making some nice plays. It's just, credit to the Commanders and Jaden Daniels. I mean, he's an excellent rookie season.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I thought this was going to be an absolute, like, offensive powerhouse of a game. But both defenses really sort of stepped up. Like, Washington's side, they were getting after Baker. So, that, like, their linebackers were just piercing through the O-line, getting the Baker, putting pressure on. But when Baker was able to have some time, like, he was finding his man still. Like, secondary for Commanders wasn't really performing. Like, Mike Evans was always getting open against Lattimore. Like, they've usually...
Oh, yeah, they had to switch him. They switched to...
Yeah, they've always had a 1v1 matchup when in the NFC South when it was Bucks v Saints. But
Evans was just all over him.
Yeah, so, like, the secondary still, a bit shaky for the Commanders, but, their D-line getting afterwards, so they kind of won them the game there, but... nothing against Jaden. Like, Jaden's having an absolutely outstanding season. As you said, he's been clutch.
Just calm, cool, collected.
The Hail Mary against the Bears. Like, those sort of moments. And he never seems to get so high. Like, he's such, like, a mellow sort of, like...
It's a perfect quarterback temperament,
Cool, calm, collected sort of...
You can't get too high or
sort
low
of demeanor.
You just have to take every play as it comes.
And I think that's like his age. Like, the problem when he was coming out of college was how old he was compared to the others. But, that's just experience now. So... it's his rookie season, but he's definitely one of the older ones that came out of the draft this year, and he's really excelled that sort of Commanders offense, and booked him a divisional matchup with.
Commanders getting to the divisional round is crazy.
It's massive.
No one would have predicted this.
Yeah.
Nobody would have predicted this. So I mean, he turned that team around. It just shows that hitting the right QB in the draft can be just everything. I mean, Caleb Williams wasn't able to get the Bears to a playoff game with a much better team. Yeah. CJ was able to last year. Bo Nix was able to this year. Like, it just... The right QB, sort of as we said when we were talking about the Steelers, is starts and ends there. If you don't get that problem solved, nothing else really matters. Yeah. And then the last one, Minnesota, LA. This was the game I couldn't get a read on all week. Had no idea, didn't really bet on it, had no feeling, just wanted to watch the game. And at the end of the day, for me, it was just, as we said in the text, was just a Sam Darnold disaster class.
Absolute disaster class. I think I was having a bit of fun after the game. I texted you. I said the biggest winners were LA Rams. Second were the LA community, obviously with all the stuff that's been going on with them. And then third was JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, his starting role is guaranteed next
year. Joking, but not kind of joking.
No.
Like, it was...
You listened to the press conference after of the coach?
No,
Kevin O'Connell. He was basically saying that, I'll never forget this year with Darnold and the run we went on. It was like so just... You got the sense that the decision's already been made that it's going to be McCarthy next year. It was a great year this year with Darnold. They went, had a great run, had a chance to win the number one seed. But at the end of the day, if you're a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl, Darnold's shown that he's not the guy that you can trust. Like, even if you go 15-2 and get the one seed, are you going to trust that when it comes to that playoff game or a conference final game, that if he gets put under any pressure, he's not going to just shit the bed?
Yeah.
No, you can't.
Obviously, it's hard when you're sort of watching on the telly how... Like, whether the receivers were getting open, like, they've got some...
the best receiver in the
Justin
game.
Jefferson and Addison, like, they kept Jefferson to under 60 yards, and they had Addison to 0 yards. Yeah. So, like, he just wasn't able to find his weapons. So, whether the Rams' secondary were just covering him too well, or he was just sort of indecisive, but there was a couple of key throws that I thought he missed. And then, just holding onto the ball.
holding the ball way too much.
Like, what was it? 8 sacks the whole game? 9 sacks.
You got to give credit, though, because the Rams' defensive line was able to get pressure with only rushing 4, which then allowed them to drop back in coverage and cover. As you said, we don't know not at the game, not watching the All-22, seeing if the receivers are open. But either way, you could tell there was a few sacks where, like some of the sacks, you just can't do anything about them. But there was a couple where you could tell the coach was getting frustrated. It's like, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple where you just can't take it. Like, it was like a field goal territory or only like a second or third down. Like, live to fight another day type shit. And he was just holding it, even dropping back, taking more yards. Yeah. And the problem was, it's not just a one game. He was doing the same thing the last week against Detroit. And I remember saying earlier in the year, that I don't think it's going to be fair for people to take away what he's done this year if he fails in the playoffs. But then the way it's happened is different. It's not just like he's not played well or he's just missed throws or thrown intercepts. It genuinely looks like the moment's been too big. Like, as the game's got more pressure and the game rose in intensity, he shrunk. Like, he what he's been doing all year, where he was releasing the ball, finding the right man, making the right decision, all of a sudden switched in the big games, and he started making the wrong decision. He started hesitating. He didn't want to release the ball. He was scared of throwing intercepts. Every time he got pressure, he didn't know where to go or couldn't feel it. That is like that is a worse indictment than just playing poorly. Because I said, if you're a team that's trying to push to that next level or trying to challenge for a title, now you're just thinking, we can't risk it. Because if we get in any big game where they can put pressure on the QB, is he going to shrink again? I mean, the data would say yes. So it's probably the worst case scenario for him, because I think even if he thrown like 300 yards but threw 3 picks and just sort of, like one of those, not an awful game but not a good game, you know what I mean? Yeah. I still think it would have been okay. But the way it went down, where he we looked overawed. Yeah. You just, in 2 games in a row as well. It's not just like the one, it's the 2.
And with both of those games, like with those matchups, obviously Lions, they've been so good against the run defensively all season, and Rams, like when you look at their stats, it was more the last like 4 or 5 weeks since the Bills, like their rushing defenses even gradually got better. So they weren't able to get Aaron Jones much of the ball, so it heavily relied on Sam Darnold to make those plays to his receivers, and that you just couldn't do it. So
and that's going to happen sometimes in the playoffs. Like sometimes the team's just going to try and stop the run, sell out, stop the run, and make the QB beat them. And at the end of the day, so the credit to the Rams' defensive line, because the Rams' defense do need credit. It's not just the Darnold just played awful. They were able to pressure him, rushing 4. Yeah. And they had some good schemes. And the Rams' defense is getting a lot better. But at the end of the day, if you're going to, like, that's the difference. We're talking about a QB that was going to get paid 40, 50 million a year. You have to be able to overcome that. Like, if you have your run game stopped, like think of Burrow. Burrow doesn't have a run game in 90% of the games he plays. Yeah. He's still able to do what he needs to do. Like, if Burrow's in that Vikings team, he wins that game. Like, I'm no doubt in my mind. 100%. So that's what I'm saying. Like, the fact, like, now that just puts him way back in the categories, back to like maybe he'll get like a 15, 20 million deal. Maybe he'll get a backup deal again. It's just the conversation has switched so much. But I mean, look, ultimately, such a disappointing season for Minnesota. It's similar to the 2 years ago with Kirk Cousins, where they had that massive win streak in the middle of the year, where remember they were winning all those close games? Every one-score game they were winning, and then they lost in the early rounds in the playoffs. Like, it just seems like, I don't know if it's a coach thing, I don't know what it is, but it seems like they're so good in the regular season recently, but they just can't push through and make it.
Is that when Cousins got injured towards the later half?
No, that was last year. He got injured. But yeah, that was 2 years ago that's when Cousins started to become like the cool guy Cousins, where he was wearing the chains and shit. And like, it's like, that's when they're riding real high. Yeah.
But that's when he got into the Netflix quarterback.
Exactly. Yeah, that's when he was feeling himself. He become the next Hollywood superstar. Yeah. But it's been a similar story for the Minnesota Vikings, where they just haven't been able to get any playoff run going. But yeah, look, with their weapons, their coach, their defense, I don't know if Flores will still be there, but they'll still be a good team next year. It's just a matter of, can McCarthy do what Darnold couldn't, where he could at Michigan, but can you do it in the NFL? Like, can you be that guy that doesn't help your team lose, but just either is equal? Because you've got so many weapons and such a good team around him that if you're a QB on a Minnesota Vikings, you just have to be competent, not make mistakes, and take the moments when they appear. And that's what Darnold couldn't do at the end of the year. Yeah.
So unfortunately, they will basically go into a first season with McCarthy, seeing as he was injured all this season, and
basically just a reset, right?
It feels like a reset for him. So
what was his injury again?
Sorry,
what was his injury? The ACL.
I thought it was something with the arm. Maybe it was ACL. That rings a bit of a.
You'd prefer I don't know. Either way, a season-ending injury, you got to worry about like re-injury. What's he going to be like? But surely with the NFL doctors and stuff, you'd be. You'd be.
He ended up going overseas, didn't he? To have those procedures. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the wildcard recap. I reckon next week or maybe the week after, the in between the conference final and the Super Bowl, we do like a scorecard. Like we go through all the teams and rank their seasons and like what we think is going to happen for like where we put them for next year.
Do it like division by division and like do it that way?
Yeah.
Spread it out, or do you reckon all at once?
I reckon because in that week between the Super Bowl, like you know how there's 2 weeks off, in that 1 week in between where we're just sort of like floundering around, still want to talk about NFL because you know Super Bowl hop, I'll still be there. I reckon we
I like
give
it.
a scorecard, we go
Sort
through all
of
the
do like a
teams.
season in review.
Yeah, literally, that's exactly what it'll be. Nice YouTube vid there, season in review. It's letting you in behind the scenes right here.
You got some great ideas, brother.
Yeah, I just thought of that just then, bro. So putting it down.
Top of the knob.
Off the dome. All right. And to the big boys. I love how Sportsbet already have like the preview of the games if they like win.
If they win,
So I'm guessing if you get your money, your stake refunded if they don't come true. But
I would assume so. They'll just void it.
yeah, it's just crazy looking at some of the lines. So they've got Ravens favourites against the Chiefs if the Ravens win, and Bills Chiefs essentially even. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Interesting.
Let's go start with the first one, Texans Chiefs.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, a lot of the noise coming out of this is, you know, people doubting the Chiefs again. You know, round one bye, their starters haven't played for a while. Haven't played since like Christmas Day or something, they're saying. So they feel like there can be a bit of regression there. But, I mean, I just can't go against Mahomes and in the playoffs. Like, they're just different beasts once it comes down to like this crunch time
lost like
stuff.
2 playoff games, right? Both to Brady.
Yeah. So
one to Burrow.
When I'm looking at this game, like what's the line? 8.5.
Let's have a look right now. Yep, 8.5.
Yeah. So like we mentioned, like we already mentioned this with Texans, their defensive line, like they've been performing really well through this season. So they're going to try and get after Mahomes, and Mahomes is just going to have to get the ball out really quick. And whether that sort of is a bit of a regression with not a lot of time on the field, like he might be, you know, start off a little bit slow, maybe not hit his targets. Receivers might not get as open as quickly. So when I was looking at this, I'm like, there's a few trends that I like, you know, Chiefs, haven't really been winning big. It's been a lot of close games that they've been in. So I look at the 8 points and I'm like, do I like taking the 8 points with a team that I don't even think is going to win? Like, Chiefs will win this. Guaranteed.
Okay.
But,
next minute. All right, we'll clip that.
Nah.
Huh?
Nah. Don't even worry about it.
Okay.
Chiefs are winning this easy. It's just by how much. There's a trend with teams coming off a bye, a 44% against the spread. But that then the percentage goes down to high 30s when the spread's higher than 7 points. So
that leans towards Texans.
Texans. So I'm kind of looking at that trend. I'm looking at how the Chiefs have usually performed with their wins. Like, it's been close. So, like, for me, I'm going to take the Texans 8.5 with no confidence. It's going to be if Stroud can get going. Like, he's going to need Collins to have an absolute game, you know, getting the ball. Chiefs are really good against the run, so Mixon's going to find it hard to get any value. So, yeah, if Stroud and Collins
Texans are also good against the run.
Going, sorry?
Texans are also very good against the run.
As in stopping
the run.
Yeah, for sure.
And typically the Chiefs like to lean on the run a bit in the second half. It's going to be like Mahomes having to sort of... Both run games might cancel each other out, so it's going to essentially could be a bit of a shootout.
Yeah, right. So what would you back in a shootout then, Mahomes or Stroud?
Obviously, you're going to back Mahomes in a shootout.
So, I'll swallow myself. I've never gone against the Chiefs in my week-to-week bets. I always stayed away from it, unless if they were really small dogs. But yeah, I'll take the Texans 8.5 in my matchup here, but Chiefs to win for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chiefs on upset alert. Kansas City Chiefs on upset alert against the Houston Texans.
You're picking the Texans to win.
I'm calling an upset alert.
You're an idiot.
It's an upset.
You're an idiot.
Mahomes hasn't thrown a pass since before Christmas.
Oh my God.
Okay.
You sound like these guys on fucking Fox Sports.
I think that the Chiefs should win. Obviously. Okay, obviously. Every man and his dog, everyone I've spoken to, everyone I've seen, is saying, obviously the Chiefs win this. It's too easy. I don't think the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year. I think that this would be the most storybook way for the season to end. Because I think all year they've won these close games against teams everyone expected them to beat, these 8-9 point favorites, and all of a sudden they get down into a even game, 2 minutes left, get a kick a field goal, get a stop. I think this would be, I have a vision of seeing this game be a close game. Both offenses sort of can't get going. It's a defensive heavy game. It's like 17-17 going into the fourth quarter. And the Texans have the ball with 4 minutes left and they run it down and they don't give Mahomes a chance and they kick a field goal with 30 seconds left and Mahomes doesn't even get a chance to get the ball to win it. And then the stadium is stunned. Everyone's like, what the heck just happened? I can't believe it. The game we all wanted next week of Chiefs v Bills or Ravens is gone. And all of a sudden the Texans are somehow in the conference final game and get smoked the next week. That is the vision I have. And I'm calling it. Now, in saying that, I also have a few bets on the Chiefs minus 8.5. So, my two ways of saying that's why it's an upset alert. I'm not calling the Chiefs win. My pick for this game is Chiefs minus. I like the Chiefs minus 8.5. I like that's what my multis are on. That's what I'm invested. But I also have a substantial stake on Texans money line just because I'm putting it on alert. Because if this, I said I can't shake this dream I keep having of Mahomes sitting on the sidelines thinking, oh my goodness, the three-peat's gone and I don't even have a chance to fix it.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, I told you I had something cooking. That was, as soon as I saw this matchup, I just think there's not a single person that believes in the Texans this game. No one.
I think you forgot to turn the oven on, honestly.
Hey,
you say you got something cooking, you forgot to turn the oven on.
Maybe, but look, when it comes to next Monday, man. If the Texans somehow get this win, I'm taking a victory lap.
Hey, it will be fair play if you get it, but you won't. You won't.
Do you know? But it's just whenever people get so confident in an outcome, that's when the sport gods sprinkle a little fairy dust and say, not today. Every single man and his dog is going to have the Chiefs in a teaser, have the Chiefs either minus 2.5, have the Chiefs money line in a multi. Every bracket, everything's going to have Chiefs. And I just think this is the spot where this is the upset of the week. If there's going to be one, this is my upset. And look, I said I'm not saying it's the most likely outcome, but considering every single person is saying it's impossible, Chiefs 100% win this, I'm calling it an upset alert.
Good thing you're hedging both sides, but
I am, because I also I think if Chiefs, there's also I also have a vision, when I switch from that dream to more of a nightmare, it goes to Chiefs start out so hot. Mahomes is laser focused, locked in. Texans just look lost. Chiefs go down, score a touchdown on the first drive. Chris Jones sacks Stroud in their first drive, and all of a sudden it's 14-0, and everyone's like, okay.
And you have the realization, oh yeah, why would I back against Mahomes?
And then it's I was exactly right because I've got that in a multi, so I'm sweet. So that's apparently the under's pretty good in this game because it's gonna be really cold, and typically it's could be a defense heavy game. And so the run games might cancel each other out a little bit. So it could be, so the under's not bad in this. And people like betting the overs in these big games because they Mahomes is going to go for 400 yards.
So you're backing Stroud in the shootout.
A lot of contradictions here, but let's just wait and see. As I said, maybe I'll come back here on Monday and I'll look like an absolute fool.
If you come here and the Texans are going against either the Ravens or Bills in that AFC matchup,
what will you do?
Jeez, I need to be careful here.
What will you do? I mean, come on. You said there's no chance. You said 100%.
There is no chance.
No chance.
There is no chance.
You said 100%.
I'll gift you 10. I'll gift you 10 on
10
Twitch.
Gifted.
10 gifted on Twitch.
I don't want Twitch getting all that money, bro.
Donation. I'll just donate whatever the equivalent of 10 is, $50.
What's something you do? What's something you do on here? What's something? You have to wax your legs. Come on. You said there's no chance.
Sure, for the culture.
Deal, all right.
For the culture.
If CJ Stroud upset the Kansas City Chiefs and Mahomes and stop their three-peat, Tom Williams here on Borderless Sports will wax those legs. Wax. Wow, that's going to, this game just gets juicier by the minute. So, yep, I'm calling it here. Upset alert, Kansas City Chiefs over the Houston Texans.
That's a clip.
Yeah. Nice. All right, let's move it on.
All right, now we get. Oh my god, I can't believe we started with that.
So Washington Commanders v Detroit Lions. Now,
Yeah.
similar game to the Texans, right? Like one team coming off a bye, the number 1 seed. 8.5 line went up to 9.5 yesterday. Came back to 8.5 today. So a bit of money was on Detroit, and then
I saw 9.5 this morning, so it's
now
even
it's back
come
to
back
8.
down.
Yeah, it's back to 8.
Yeah,
So
well.
a bit of money coming on both sides here. A lot of people
Yeah.
obviously think that 8.5 is a key number, or 9's a key number. Yeah, I'll just give my quick 2 cents on this. I think for me, Detroit's just going to be too good. I think Dan Campbell, big in these big games. This was my gut feel against the Vikings game, and I didn't trust it. I think Dan Campbell is good at getting his team up. I think having the week off, they're going to be healthy, they're going to be fresh, they're going to be ready to go at home. The crowd's going to be rocking.
Yeah.
I think Commanders are going to be high from last week. I think the quality of competition between Detroit and Tampa at the moment is going to be a stark difference, and I just think it's going to be a class difference. I think Detroit's offensive line is going to be dominant. They're going to be able to run the ball. As you said, you saw how open Evans was able to get in that game. Yeah. I think that the
St.
Lions,
Brown and Williams,
exactly, the Lions receivers are going
day.
to. I think Goff's going to throw for 300+ yards.
Yeah.
I think the offense is going to cook. I do think that the Commanders will score some points. Like, I think it'll be like 20 points maybe for them, but I think it'll be like 35-20 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think Detroit's just going to flex their muscle here. This is like I love this spot for them where I think they're going to be looking to the next week. I just can't see them losing this one. I love the Detroit minus.
Yeah, same. I'm on Detroit minus 8.5. I just look at this offensive powerhouse of a unit. They've got Ben Johnson as the OC coach, and he's been poached for head coaching jobs, and so you can say that's maybe a bit of a what am I trying to say? He's focused on other things, but no, I think he's definitely put towards the task ahead. He's gonna flex his muscles in this one with his powerhouse of an offense. Gibbs, Montgomery's back. Gibbs will probably still handle most of those under center runs for sure. They're going to be
though, right?
Yeah, it gives them another option. They'll be a bit more careful with Montgomery to make sure he's okay for the NFC matchup and then the Super Bowl, pending they keep winning. But yeah, I just love this Lions team. I think it's their year. They're going to be losing their OC. They're going to be losing their DC at the end of this year. They're both looking for head coaching roles, so it's kind of now or never for them, I think.
Their time. This is their
so, yeah, it's definitely their time. I definitely see them making the Super Bowl. So I've got them winning this one. From the Commander side, you already said it. Mike Evans was so productive against that secondary, and that's sort of been their sort of area of concern on defense for Washington. So, St. Brown, Williams, I think they're just going to have an absolute field day. I don't see them taking a lot of fourth down punts. I feel like it's just going to be touchdowns and field goals. They're so clutch on the third downs and fourth downs. I feel like they haven't even showed everything either. They've shown these glimpses of special plays where they do the quick route to St. Brown, and St. Brown does a little shovel pass to Gibbs, and how he got that 60 or 70 yard run. I feel like there's so many of those plays that Ben Johnson has sort of cooked up that they can show, and just sort of not like a cockiness, but being like, it's a different ball game here. So a lot of their concerns have been on the defense, but I think you kind of got to put those to bed after that Vikings match. Like, they kept Vikings out, kept Jefferson to 50+ yards. Addison had 0 yards. They couldn't get a touchdown. They had 2 massive stops on fourth down in the red zone against Vikings. Anzalone, when he came back, he just, looked like he never left. So I don't know if Commanders can keep up offensively as you do with the 20, 21 points. I think they're going to struggle to, find any touchdown value. McLaurin's going to have an absolute ball of a game. And I just don't think they're on that same level as Vikings. So I just expect a blowout here for Lions.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. Look, the only thing I will say, though, about the Commanders is if they can sort of copy their blueprint from the Bucs game where they control time of possession. Whereas if they can have long drives, convert their third down percentage is going to have to be like 70%.
Yeah.
They're going to have to stay on the field, frustrate the Lions offense by
No
not getting...
turnovers.
Because I can't, as you're right, I can't... Yeah, no turnovers. I can't see the Lions offense not getting a lot of points. So I think the only way to limit them is to control time of possession, to not let them have the ball as much, have no turnovers, get your third and fourth down conversions, and when you get to the red zone, try to convert the red zones into touchdowns.
Yeah.
The only problem is, and why I don't believe in them getting the cover, is because I think the Lions defense, as you saw in that Vikings game, when they're switched on, when they're emotionally on, which you just know they're going to be for this game, they're going to be coming out hot.
Yeah.
You said Anzalone, he came back, he was just aggressive. They're going to, I don't know what their defensive personnel is like injury wise, but you just know the players who are playing are going to be feeling good, feeling fit, feeling healthy. They're going to be spending 2 weeks getting ready for this. They're going to come out like a house on fire. They're going to be riled up, home crowd. They're going to be going berserk in Detroit.
Yeah.
You just know Detroit early on, especially their defense is just going to be just so aggressive. And I think they'll be able to stop the run and they'll be able to get Daniels into the third and long situations, whereas he was always in third and like 5 or 4 in the Tampa game. And I think that's where they can lower that third down percentage and get the Lions offense back on the field and make the use. I mean, you just got to hope that Goff doesn't have one of his shockers, but typically he's been good in this spot. He was great in this spot last year in the playoffs, which gives me the confidence to think that they can do it again this year.
That's right. Keeping that first seed and having that home ground advantage is just massive for them.
I mean, the difference between winning that and losing that game against the Vikings is,
so that they're in the perfect spot to make that run, go to the Super Bowl, which is definitely what they deserve. The other thing that I saw today, so Lions are the NFL's premier under center rushing team with Gibbs and Montgomery, and the Commanders are the worst in the success rate and the explosive rate under center in those rushing. So Gibbs and Montgomery should have an absolute field day. I would lean more towards the Gibbs over because I think he'll get a bit more production rather than Montgomery. They'll, as I said, they'll probably chill with him, just give him a couple of looks just to get the legs going. But yeah, I love the Gibbs over in like a little play prop.
Yeah, I don't mind Goff over too. So I think any of the Lions overs should be good here. I think
Commanders struggle against tight ends as well. So Laporte.
Yeah, I got Laporte for anytime TD.
Yeah.
So I think it's like $3. It's great value.
Yeah, wow.
And then the next one, LA at Philly. Now this is an interesting one for me because I was speaking to my dad and brother about this one yesterday, and they loved the Rams. They were thinking, "Wow, this is like easy, the Rams +6. A lot of people are high on the Rams because of what they did against the Vikings. I don't really have too much of a read on this one. This one's kind of the game where I'm like, it's my least bet. It's my least... I just... Look, the Eagles, as you said, are probably the better team, but you just don't know what their vibes are like. If things start going wrong in this game, we're going to start turning on each other.
Yeah.
The Rams looked good last week. Their defense is getting better, but are they going to be able to stop that Philly run? Their offense has looked poor the previous weeks in the end of the regular season, but again, McVay and Stafford in the playoffs seem to be a bit of a different beast. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this one? I don't really lean too heavy at the moment.
I'm kind of glad that we're sort of on the same lines here. Like I found it really hard. I'll just say it straight up. I've backed the Rams and the points in my multi, but with no confidence because I feel like both defenses have been on fire, so it's going to be a very defensive-heavy matchup. So I think it's just going to take superstars on the offensive part of the ball to make points and try and win this game. That's what I'm going to take the points with Rams, but with such little confidence because the last matchup, Saquon had the production of a lifetime. He had the 250 yards rushing. He had the 2 touchdowns. So I feel like Saquon... For Eagles to win, he's going to have an absolute game. And for Rams to win, it's going to be more on Stafford and Puka. That sort of connection, throwing the ball. Kyron Williams, he had a terrible showing. On that last matchup, he had that fumble in the red zone on that first drive, and that just set them back from the jump. So, yeah, I found it really hard to pick a side, but I'll take the points. In what I think should be a close game. It should be bad weather, so it's going to rely on the run. So I don't like that in that instance because Saquon's much better than Kyron. That's kind of where I'm leaning at the moment. I don't think Rams defense will be able to have the same production they had against the Vikings because Eagles' offensive line is much better.
Yeah.
But as we said, can Hurts have that connection in the past game with AJ, Devontae, where there's a bit of question marks that have always come out of that camp the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. Look, I think Eagles probably win, but yeah, I don't know whether the 6.5 is a lot of points. So the Rams, it's hard to get a read on. Are they going to be a team that offensively looks like Stafford, typically in the playoffs? I think Stafford and McVay have only lost one game together in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what I've went the Stafford McVay sort of route. Like I thought, that QB and coach pairing is much better than Hurts and Silvani. Sirianni. What did I say?
Silvani.
Silvani from Carlton. You can tell I'm getting to AFL mode. I'm just going to back McVay and the Rams, take the points, and just pray for a close game. Definitely a lot closer than what the last matchup was. They got absolutely blown out.
Yeah, that's the thing. Do you put any weight on that, though?
The second half from the Eagles was just second to none.
I know, again, though, the Philly home crowd, like, they're going to be going berserk.
Yeah.
It's going to be cold. It's going to be wet. Probably lends more to the Eagles' game plan. Oh, I really don't know on this one. Sort of a bit of a coin flip.
I've only got the one multi in, so I was kind of hoping to see what you kind of thought about this match, see if you had any leaning thoughts, and I was going to put some extra bets on.
A lot of people love the Rams, but I can't get there. I don't know.
I feel like the Rams have to have such like a good first half. Like they just have to come out hot because Eagles second half, they're going to apply that pressure.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go Eagles -6. I'm going to take the Eagles side. Just think they've got a bit more different ways to win. Their defense is looking really good. I think I can see a world here where the Rams get a little frustrated offensively because they can't get much going. A few stops early. I think the first half might be a low-scoring game, and like low-scoring half, and then I think the second half the Eagles will establish the run, which will open up the passing game. I can see a few deep passes from Hurts, and they can blow this lead out. But look, I like the Eagles win. If I put any multis on, it'll probably just be the Eagles win. I don't think I'll put the handicap in. I just think the 6 is a weird one. So yeah, I'll take the -6.5 with just no confidence in the bank.
That's fair. I'm struggling to sort of pick a side, but I'll just take the points. Yeah.
And then to the main event. What a game.
Oh, man, this is going to be
the best game of the year.
Spectacle. Probably the most anticipated game of the week for sure. You got two MVP candidates.
The two MVP.
The two MVP candidates going head-to-head in Buffalo. People already know what side I'm leaning on. It's what I had in my bracket. I've got Bills advancing. Allen as an underdog. That's a scary sight. These Bills feel disrespected. This is the first time in, 18 games they've been in home underdog.
Wow.
And, Lamar and Derrick Henry coming into your stadium. I don't know. I just don't want to back against Allen, really, to be honest. I feel like Allen's going to have like the game of his life for Bills to win. I feel like he can. It's sort of like his time. Being at home is going to help. That crowd's going to rally him. He's got James Cook on the run game to help. He would definitely have some production there. Like I had no idea that they actually heavily relied on the run more than Ravens, what you were saying. So
neck and neck.
That helps me there. I look at this stuff with Lamar and Ravens in the postseason, and I'm like,
he's prone to a shocker.
And
Lamar. Allen
on the road, he's been favoured. So, who knows? Lamar could come out and have an absolute game, but I feel like they don't even need Lamar to have a good game to win. Like I feel Derrick Henry can sort of win that game. It's going to be bad weather, so they're going to rely on the run. Either way.
I think Lamar's going to have to make some passes, though, because I think Buffalo, McDermott will be ready to stop the run.
For sure.
And then he's going to know they're going to want to run, and there will be a couple people open. And if Lamar can hit him, especially, it's going to be interesting if Flowers plays. I don't know if he's practiced.
There's been word of Flowers, whether he plays or not, and, if he doesn't play...
That's huge.
Yeah, that's
a
massive.
Deep threat gone.
Yeah, that's his main threat, really.
He's the only deep threat.
He will still have
some short,
Bateman
the tight ends,
and
but he
Mark Andrews and stuff like that.
Andrews look good, but he won't have that deep threat.
That can really turn them sort of one-dimensional, heavily relying on that run, and you don't want that going into the Buffalo Stadium where you're going to have to be on your A game and have so much stuff up your sleeve, I think. So
yeah, look, I'm with you, bro. I think I don't want to bet against Josh Allen. I said I've been against him for so many times. I'm riding in this time. Buffalo have the better team. Baltimore have the better team with the more all-stars, the better running back, better defensive personnel, better receivers, again, depending if Flowers plays. But at the end of the day, you've got the Bills at home. You've got Allen, who's had probably the greatest season of his career. Rumours are he's not going to win the MVP, which I think is a travesty. For me, the MVP debate is as simple as this. Who has the better team?
Lamar.
Who got more wins?
Allen.
I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? At the end of the day, the most valuable player got his team more wins with a worse team. Like, yes, Lamar had a great season statistically, but it helps when you have Derrick Henry and have this team around you. Anyways, not especially the MVP.
Yeah,
should be Allen.
Doesn't help that Allen lost to Lamar either earlier in the year.
I know, but
you
he's
know,
still like...
I know what you mean. I'm on the same boat as you. I think Allen
should be
there,
Allen. Lamar's won twice. He's never been to a conference final.
We already had this segment in our
it just
pod, so
boils me.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, so I like Allen. Look, it's the whole point of this game. Even whatever side you pick, I think unless you're sort of lying to yourself, you're trying to convince yourself, it's going to be you're not going to take it with too much confidence. Like at the end of the day, either team can win this. Baltimore have the ability here. If they play their best, I think they win. Like I think both team at their best, Baltimore wins. But the question will be is, will Lamar have one of his typical bad games in the playoffs? Will the Baltimore defense hold up? What the weather will be like? I just want to throw it out there that my biggest bet of the entire week, and I think the best bet of the week, is the under of this game. It's currently 51.5.
Yeah, that's pretty high for a bad weather game.
And I think I said a lot. What people don't realize is they think there's going to be a QB shootout where both QBs throwing for 300 yards. But I think that what I said. But these are the two top 5 teams in rushing percentage. It's going to be a run-heavy game. It's going to be a lot on the ground. It's not going to be big
Long
plays.
possessions.
It's not going to be like these 2-minute drives where you're throwing for 76, 80 yards. I think 51.5 is a lot of points in a big pressure game against two run-heavy teams in cold weather. So I think the under of 51.5 that's my biggest bet of the week. I don't know how much I got invested, but I got a single on that and a couple multis on that. So I like that, and then I like Buffalo. I don't think this is a game where you need to put too much analysis into it or too much. I think it's a game where you just have a gut feeling either way, and you just sit back and enjoy the game and
for sure.
enjoy some great.
Don't even need to bet
football.
on this one. Like it's just going to be a spectacle for sure.
Just enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think these are the type of games, the big ones, where when you bet on them in like a same game multi or a parlay or something, they never seem to hit because the game always plays differently to how you expect. Because there's these big games, there's pressure, just different schemes, teams are trying something. Like it's just I think maybe put it in like your multis with like handicaps or match betting, but in terms for the same game parlays and stuff, just unless you feel really confident on something or you just want to chuck a bonus or something, just stay away and just enjoy this one. These are the ones that you sort of wait all year for. This is why the NFL's the best, because it's one and done. You know, these two juggernauts who are both QBs are trying to establish themselves and get past the Mahomes demon, trying to get to that Super Bowl. Never been to a Super Bowl. Obviously, Allen's been to one conference final. Lamar's never been to a conference final. You know, this is as big as it gets, and it's just going to be great to watch. Our perfect time for us over here in Aussie. What's it? 10:30 on Monday. I mean, that's just, thank God it's the late game, and obviously in America that'll be your Sunday night. So this will be the highest viewed game
for sure
of the season, apart from the Super Bowl,
without a doubt. Just to finish off the trend, when I was doing like my trend stuff, just to sort of back how I was feeling, Allen's 67% against the spread against top 10 defenses.
Shit. Shows how good he is, isn't it?
Shows how good
you're
he
right.
is.
He's going to have a big game.
Yeah. So I was looking at player props, like, you know, I'm looking at Allen's sort of props to go over.
What's his rushing prop? Let's have a look. 47.
Wow, I would go over on that for sure.
Yeah,
I'd go over on that, and I'll probably throw in some like Derrick Henry stuff as well.
I like the Josh Allen anytime TD too, 218.
That's over $2.
Yeah,
wow.
And James Cook's over $2 as well. And you got Derrick Henry $1.50.
Him and Hurts to have anytime touchdowns that are over $2. I feel like it's sort of automatic.
I like that. Yeah. So it's. I mean,
wow. So I'm glad we're on the same side of that because you had it different in your bracket.
Right? No, I had Bills.
I thought you had Ravens.
Did I? I took a photo. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Jeez. Long way back on my camera. No, you're right. I did have Ravens. Wow. I wonder what I have to rewatch the pod and see what my thinking was on that. I've obviously flip-flopped and now I have Buffalo at home.
That's what I thought when we were talking earlier. You said that you flipped on your bracket. So I thought it was you jumping on the Bills.
I'm jumping on the Bills. I said, Allen's burnt me too many times. I respect that guy. I think he's the best QB in the league. Now, it's a controversial take because Mahomes is going for the 3-peat. He's a winner. But I think the last few years, it's undeniable that Allen has played at a higher level than Mahomes. Mahomes is a winner. He wins in the big clutch moments. But I think Mahomes has the better. He has a Hall of Fame coach. He has a Hall of Fame tight end. He has an excellent defense. One of the maybe a Hall of Famer on Chris Jones on defense. Allen's been doing it with a diva wide receiver on Diggs, who I don't think is as good as he's made out to be. A coach that's good but not great. A defense that's been, again, good, not great. This year with basically zero offensive weapons. Offensive play calls coming in and out. And yet he's managed to sustain his level. He's gotten better. His intercepts have gone down. I can't rate Allen enough. I think for me, he's the best QB in the league.
He's finally got some weapons around him for sure. You know, Shakir, Coleman. They picked up Amari Cooper.
Yeah, but if you put these guys in other teams, are you talking about them?
No, probably
Is it
not.
just Allen?
But yeah. But what I'm saying is he's finally got some weapons to throw to. A little bit more reliable than what Diggs was.
And he doesn't have to force the ball.
Doesn't have to force the ball
Just
to them. There's
do
no
whatever's
ego
open,
or
yeah.
anything there. So
Who's on you throw to?
that's right. I'm really hoping Bills get up, and so it's a Bills Chiefs.
Yeah, it'd be a great game.
I would love to see that.
Either way.
Because I feel like that matchup. Obviously, Bills won earlier in the year, but going into Arrowhead just to see how they sort of
Look, either way, if Ravens do, it's going to be the revenge game.
Yeah.
You saw that first game of the year in Arrowhead where the Ravens Chiefs, how hyped that was and how badly the Ravens wanted it. They talked all off season about it.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Allen Mahomes is been talked about for years. So, look, you just hope that the
I
Chiefs
can't
can
believe
win.
you're trying to talk
I
us
mean,
out of the Chiefs, Ravens, or Chiefs, Bills.
You really hope the Chiefs win because you got a lot riding on that game.
I got my hairy legs.
And you got a great viewing experience. But yeah, look, more than likely it'll be Chiefs v Bills and Ravens, and we have 2 weeks of just excellent AFC
I'd say
football.
that would be. I can't. Wait.
And then so we both think as well it'll be Lions, Eagles in the NFC, and then
Yes.
Chiefs, Bills in the AFC, which I mean,
Which would be great.
Two great matchups.
Great
The Eagles was number 2 seed, right?
Yep.
So that would essentially be
It'll be
1
the
and 2
1-2.
seeds, which again shows how important home field advantage is.
Yeah,
no,
for sure.
We still got to get through this week. I mean, Rams could easily win that and blow that up. I mean, the Ravens could win and blow that up.
yeah.
So we don't know, but yeah,
No.
I think the number
Like
1
you
seed
think
is
Texans could win?
yeah, clearly the number 1 seed is the most important. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
essentially a playoff win and home field advantage. To Super Bowl. Like that's crazy. Like in the Detroit Vikings game, I mean, that game was essentially a playoff
Yeah,
game. You
it
get
was
the
wild.
first round off, and it's just the difference in fortunes for Sam Darnold of winning
Yeah.
that game and not is. I mean, you couldn't put a price on it.
Yeah. Oh wow, it's gonna be such a great week.
Yeah, well, it starts tomorrow.
Yeah,
Starts tomorrow with the
we'll have to turn this around pretty quickly, get it out,
yeah.
so people can know where to put their money.
And then Texans. So we got the Chiefs first up tomorrow, and then what's the second game tomorrow?
The Lions, Commanders,
Lions Commanders is our prime time, and then
both the 1 seeds.
yeah, makes sense. Then we got the Eagles game, and then the big one, the Ravens Bills. So yeah, it's gonna be a great weekend.
Oh yeah,
Bit of tennis to watch.
Yep.
Bit of Big Bash to watch.
Big Bash coming towards finals.
Yeah, that's coming to a tail end. Got the Sri Lanka series coming up. I mean, I guess we can talk about that a little bit coming up in a few weeks when that gets closer. It's on Channel 7, you see. They bought the full rights.
Oh really?
Not on KO at all. So Channel 7 have the full rights now to that series, which is interesting. I feel like they typically don't. That's going to be on Channel 7 now. Typically, they don't play like away test matches on Channel 7.
Yeah, wow.
Like in Pakistan,
kinda
they
annoying.
definitely didn't. Yeah, but
I like my KO. Split
just-
screen.
for me, that just shows how good the viewership must have been on Channel 7 for the India
yeah,
series. Because
sure.
for them to go, okay, we're going to go buy out KO essentially to get the full rights
Yeah.
to get the Sri Lanka series. I mean, for a free-to-air channel to want to go and do that for no reason, like that's a big investment. So yeah, we'll talk about that in a few weeks, and just keep chugging along. Get some touch base in the NBA. I mean, we had the Thunder smoke the Cavs yesterday.
Yeah.
Get some revenge.
I mean, did you watch that game?
A little bit.
Yeah, the Thunder didn't even have Shet, didn't have Hartenstein. They look so small, but their defense is just on another level. So many turnovers, and Cavs couldn't hit their threes.
Shea dropped 40.
Shea dropped 40 on them. Like, it was basically a revenge game for him. You know, they lost that first matchup with him, so
Now have identical
Shea was
records.
Identical now.
Identical
Yeah,
records.
wow.
Both 6 games up, I think, or 6.5 games up on the second place in both conferences.
Wow.
It's crazy, eh? Yeah, you have both
Yeah.
conferences have one team so far ahead, both 1-1 on the season too
That's
with each
huge.
other. So I mean, yeah, as a Thunder fan, it's looking good, but
Nah, it's starting to
it's still only
with me being-
halfway through.
Yeah,
which
I know
is
it's wild. There's
wild,
still so
man.
long to go.
That's
but
the problem.
You finally got Knicks starting to perform. Unfortunately for Knicks, all these teams that go to MSG, it's like they're it's like they find some resurgence.
Yeah.
Like it's just like a venue that they want to play well at, so they always get the best
Kind
of
of
the
a counter,
team.
isn't it? Yeah.
But Nick's finally found some defensive form now, like with the additions of Bridges and Cat. They're finally starting to get some gel, some confidence together. So their defense is finally showing some good signs. So they should be pretty favoured in the playoffs and sort of go a long way. Hopefully everyone stays healthy and we have some good playoff matches when it comes down to crunch time.
In 6 years, when it finally comes around to the
In
playoffs.
6 years.
Because it seems like the season goes for freaking ever. That's the problem with NBA. Because you just chug along, you don't watch too much. And
yeah, I always sort of try and find like the good matchups each day and just watch like the last like 2-3 minutes of the fourth quarter and just keep up with.
It's called efficient NBA viewing right there.
I mean, it helps when you're on holidays, but once you get back to work, it's a tough ask. There's so much sport on.
I think the only other story as well is the Haaland 10-year deal.
Yeah,
I don't know the price,
found that
but
out
apparently,
last night.
our friend said it's going to be the highest.
9.5 or something, apparently.
Yeah, it's going to be the highest soccer contract, like price wise, ever.
Wild.
So, I mean, it's got to be. When the numbers, maybe the numbers will never come out, but you just know in order to lock a Haaland down for that long to not, so essentially now if he wants to leave, other teams have to buy him out.
Yeah.
So it basically means that he's tied his future to City and given City all the cards to give him away or not, whatnot. So he has the keys to the kingdom, has the keys to the Emirates, basically. Abu Dhabi can
look at it as you're giving him the keys, or you look at it as they're holding him for ransom.
Yeah, literally. I mean, both. Basically both. So it's interesting. I mean, typically City don't do those massive deals, but he's still young. He's obviously got a bright future ahead of him.
Yeah,
he has
still plenty of playing years ahead of him.
He doesn't really fit the Guardiola system, which is kind of why I thought he wouldn't stay. Like I assumed he'd come for a few years, get some goals, get the accolades, get some experience, and then go off to a team like Madrid or someone where in the Spanish league or these leagues that would allow his play style more, which is getting behind, more freedom to run.
Which is what he did at Dortmund.
Yeah, but the way City plays, it's all compact. Like he's always has 3 defenders around him. He doesn't really have the get over the top through balls where he can use his speed and his strength. He's not really the most like technical in terms of like the tiki taka around the box and soft touch. He's more speed, physical abilities, which you don't really get to doesn't really get to shine in the City team. What gets to shine is the Fodens, the De Bruyne, the Grealish, the Bernardo Silva, the really technical ball, like the dribbling and passing ability. So it's a little interesting, but I mean, I guess he likes it there. I mean, obviously they probably have the best staff, the best facilities. Like you're looked after from head to toe.
If you win in 5 titles, like you got some money to spend.
Well, he's basically he won the treble. I mean, he's done everything he wants to. He'd be looked after. He'd have his nutrition, just everything he wants. So, and his dad obviously used to play there, so he has a connection to the club. Yeah. But for the City, it's great. It came as a bit of a surprise to me, especially the length of the deal. But just shows how where soccer's moving, right? Where now
it's massive,
turning into like baseball style contracts. Yeah. Show hey,
Ronaldo's gonna some news from Ronaldo. I think he's got another 1-year deal for that Al Nassr team in Saudi Arabia.
Imagine how much that would be.
I think I want to get this right. It was either 3 million or 8 million, like a week. Yeah, for a year. Obviously with his age, but yeah, it was either 3 or 8. I can't
be
remember.
8, right? Surely that would be crazy. 8 times 5. That'd be 400 million a year.
Maybe it was 3. I think it was 3 million a week.
That'd be 150 mil.
Yeah, definitely 3 million a week.
That's like that. It makes sense though, because what he gives for them, like at the end of the day, the label sports washing, right? Yeah. He is the perfect tool for that because he has so much brand and so much goodwill built up with the soccer fan base that he gives that league legitimacy just like that. Yeah. So he's probably worth the money. A lot of the other players obviously aren't, but they're just spending the cash to try to make the league appear more viable and as a proper league. But I mean, at the end of the day, most soccer fans know that it's just money that's doing it all. If you take away the money, everyone will suddenly go. But they're trying to build something there, and at the end of the day, they have the cash to spend. And a lot of people, I think, saw it in the Call of Duty League with the Vegas Falcons. They offered to pay for the Challengers tournament of the Optic Major because they just have, again, money to throw at shit. And at the end of the day, the Western world runs by money, so they're going to build their way into things. I think they're trying to host Saudi Arabia's trying to host the World Cup, Soccer World Cup in like 2032 or something.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me.
Which means they'll win the bid, of course, because they win every fucking bid they do in these things. Wonder why. But yeah, it's just the changing world of soccer. You go where the money goes.
That's how it works out. That's how the cookie crumbles. Go where the money is.
Saudi Arabia, if you're watching,
think
of a sponsorship.
Obviously, we know what we're talking about.
We obviously know what we're talking about. This guy went 60% against the spread here. I mean, hey, take us out to Saudi.
I'm going to be running that dry when it comes around in the new season. 60%.
Yeah, we'll come out and interview Ronaldo, talk your league up. Hey, we've got you covered.
Yeah, 100%.
Plenty of legitimacy around
hey,
here.
we're happy to fly over to Saudi Arabia, do some live action sports over there.
Oh, for sure, man. We love that country.
Yeah,
We love the Gulf states.
love them.
Yeah, MBS, I think doing a great job. It's yeah, sign us up.
I like it. I think it's finally time to switch it up
Done
now.
enough dick sucking. Time
Yeah.
to time to say goodnight. Yep. All right, it was good.
Awesome.
Good week back, and then enjoy the games, and we'll be back on probably Monday or Tuesday, depending. Probably Tuesday. So let's give some time maybe to digest that Ravens game, and then we'll call Tuesday and hopefully get that recap up ASAP for you guys to get those divisional game analysis on.
100%. Otherwise, thanks for listening, and definitely enjoy those upcoming matches, and thank you.
Go the Texans.
Bye.